Well, hey there, good viewers. How's it going? Sorry, I'm a little bit late tonight. I just got home from work. We are working overtime, and things are really busy at work. There's a few things that I wanted to go over with you guys tonight. So, if you're with me this evening, go ahead and give me a shout out and let me know where you're chiming in from. Thank you, honey. Hey, Eddie. What's going on? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was pretty terrible. I'll get into that in a little bit. Hopefully you can see. Got myself pretty good. What's up, Mike? How's it going, bud? And Nick says, "Gotta watch those fingers, my man." Yeah, yeah, you're right. Eddie's here from North Kakalaki, also known as North Carolina. Cliff said, "Let's see that ET finger that looks like mine." Yeah, except for your finger does one of these, doesn't it, Cliff? Hey, Aaron, Christian. Christian, I guess you said from down under, from Australia. What's going on? What's shaking, Aaron? Somebody says, "Oh no, shop safety. Guess I don't need to say anything, as your sweet wife was probably worried enough." Yes, she was. When I get into it, I'll tell you what she said. Cliff says, I hear Aaron. She needs to make an appearance."
No.
Sorry, Cliff. Aaron says no. She smiled and said, "No." Hey, Cola from Joe Lake says, "Don't worry, you got 9 more." Yeah. Well, guys, I guess I'll go ahead and get into it. So I have a video that will be coming out tonight, so be on the lookout for that. And the reason why it's coming so late instead of this past weekend was, if you guys didn't see my post, it was because I was careless with some hand tools and I cut myself. So just to kind of give you guys the rundown of what happened, I just didn't have my steps right when I was cutting the lumber down, and I should have gotten the lumber to the size that I needed at first. Well, anyway, without giving away what the video is about, there was just a small sliver of wood left that the table saw couldn't get. And so I took my chisel, which I keep really, really sharp so that it cuts through wood, and I put my hand on the piece of lumber and I put the chisel here, thinking to myself, that could hit my hand, but I know I have more control than that. And my chisel is so sharp that when I put pressure on it, it went right through, and I really hard jammed a 1/2 inch wide chisel right into my finger. And because it cuts wood so well, because it's really sharp, it very easily cut through my finger. It went pretty deep, and I got 6 stitches. So the crazy thing is about what happened was, after I cut myself, I came running in inside, and I said, "Aaron, I cut myself." And first thing she asked me was it power tools? And I said, "No, they weren't power tools. It was a chisel." And and so Starbond reached out to me, so I had a bunch of super glue right there handy. So I asked Aaron to super glue it, and she was worried because I was bleeding onto the floor that I probably shouldn't super glue it. So she started to open the super glue for me, but then said, "Let me see it." And then, "I don't think so. We need to go to Med Express or something like that to get you some stitches. So she was smart. I would have super glued if I was by myself, but so we ended up going to Med Express, and within an hour I had 6 stitches. So it was really fine. But I couldn't work with my left hand there for about a day or so. So Sean says, I've done that before. He said, I'm way more careful with power tools than I am with hand tools, shaking my head. Yeah, I'm always conscious about power tools, and sometimes I just fling stuff together with hand tools. Eddie says, I'm a safety inspector. Do I need to inspect your shop? No. No, you do not. I will get everything set up myself. Kola says, thank God you're okay. I did. I thanked him that I did not have my finger cut off, and that it could have been much worse. The doctor said that she checked my finger and made sure that I had no nerve damage, and I completely didn't even think about having, damage to the tendons. She was asking me to move my finger and bending it all around. And so I didn't even think about that. So I'm glad that everything works well and it's fine. Sophie Nelson says, okay, so I have to admit I did sew my finger in the sewing machine. Sewing machine needles went through the finger. In the military, you can use that CA anytime you need to join flesh to flesh. Sophie says, good job, wifey. Nick says, how many times the wife saved your life? I am pretty careful, but she always checks up on me and makes sure that I'm not doing anything stupid. She also always encourages me to wear a dust mask and safety glasses, even though I'm in a hurry and I don't always do that. But I try my best to do those at least. So, how was your guys' week? Does anyone have any projects that they tackled this week? I know last week was the first Shop Talk Tuesday and we missed the other week, so I'm just checking in with you guys to see how you all are doing. Hopefully your week has been going better than mine. Eddie says, do a survey to see how many people know someone missing the tip of their finger from a power tool. Sophie says, beauty and brains, you lucky man. I am, for sure, lucky. She has beauty and brains, for sure. Nick says, only small injuries here. So as a matter of fact, when Aaron and I were engaged to get married about 4 years ago, I don't know if you guys can see here, but I drilled all the way through this finger here, went in the bottom and out the top. Same hand. And the first thing she asked me when I told her on the phone is I drilled through my finger. She says, was it your ring finger? And sure enough, it was. But everything got sewed up and everything's fine. Mike says, building new handrails for the boat and worked on the table base for the beautiful river table. Excuse me. That's awesome, Mike. That's really cool. Tammy says, I'm making a Lamo table for my mom. I'm not sure what Lamo is, but says, I also have a picnic table to do for my cousin. My husband cut his finger because he took his eyes off the... Off what? So he says, I want to do the cheapskate challenge, but can I have the jewelry frame not from the same place? Oh, yes. So the cheapskate challenge rules are different this time. You can get them any place, anywhere, whatever you want to do. It could be online, it could be in a store, it could be any place. It doesn't have to be different materials. Don't have to be from the same place. The only rule is that it needs to be a woodworking project or epoxy project of some sort, and there's a $50 price cap. You cannot spend more than $50. Joe Lake, how's it going, Joe? Says, I got 7 stitches in my thumb from a hacksaw back when I was an apprentice. Wow, that is terrible. So, did it slip and you land on your hand? How did that happen? Nick says, if the ring fits, wear it. That's right. It didn't fit for a little bit, but does now. Eddie says, have you ever made a humidor? No, I have not ever made a humidor. Tammy Klein says, lamp. Sorry. Okay, so Tammy, let me go back up. So he, oh, you're making a lamp table for my mom. Oh, gotcha. Okay. And also picnic table for my cousin. My husband cut his finger because he took his eyes off the blade. Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I one time when I was learning how to do woodworking, I was younger. I think I was a teenager. I pushed a piece of MDF through the table saw and didn't push it all the way through and let go, and it shot back and hit me in my hip and cut my hip and sprained my hand. It's crazy. Aaron says, able to score a bunch of poplar slabs for the cheap, but wood is green. Yeah, sometimes you can score some of that stuff, but yeah, you don't want to work with it when it's green, even though it is easier to work when it's green. How long? What do the slabs look like? How long do you think you have to dry them? Sophie, yay! Joe says, yeah, cutting EMT and it slipped. So, Joe, what is EMT? Also, guys, I wanted to talk to you. I had a few people ask about round molds. Have any of you guys ever made an epoxy project using a round mold, like a bigger one, maybe like for a table? And if so, what did you use to make the mold? I have a few ideas and some things that I'm gonna try here soon. I don't know if you guys have ever done that though. Oh, so okay, Aaron says probably a year or so, and then look awesome, have a rainbow color in them. Yes, I think as a matter of fact, it is called rainbow poplar, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there. So Julie says electrical metallic tubing. Okay, gotcha. Conduit. Yeah, it makes sense now. I should know that, being that I wire things every day for my full-time job. Cola says pot plate, 65 centimeters in diameter. Robert Nichols, good evening. Better late than never. You can use a thin, pliable plexiglass for a round mold. Oh, that's a great idea. Have you done it before? Mike says, whatever happened to that piece of wood you threw in the leftover river table pour? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Aaron says, I think I'm not a wood specialist, but the guy I bought them from called it that. Yeah, so, yeah, I know some of the, I don't think the actual tree name is rainbow poplar. I know of yellow poplar and things like that, but when you cut into it and it has that, they call it rainbow poplar because some of them have that characteristic. So Aaron says you could even use landscape edging. So yeah, that's exactly what my plan was. And if you see Cola here, she posted a couple of messages back. She actually made a really cool table from olive wood and epoxy, and that's what she used to make the circle. And she did a really good job. As everyone knows who's made projects, they're not without their mistakes. But remember, as I know, mistakes are just learning experiences, and believe me, I've had my fair share of learning experiences. Joe says, what kind of wiring do you do? So, Joe, I work for a contractor for the railroad, and I install the equipment, wire control houses. So the controls that operate track switches and signals and things like that, vital and non-vital things. Mike says you threw that piece of wood in the Tupperware, poured the resin around it, and put a paint can on top of it. Go look in the mess of in the mess of a shop of yours laying around somewhere. No, I remember. Yeah, okay. I just wasn't sure what you were talking about. So yeah, I took that out of the mold, and all it needs to be is planed down. It came right out of that Tupperware thing, no problem. So Aaron says, so as the wood dries and the color fades, will it come back when I work with it? Yes. Yes, it will. It will come back, and especially it'll look faded when you sand it, but as soon as you put finish on, it'll come back. Nick says, have you ever seen Osage orange? Also called a Bodart tree. Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was at Woodcraft this past weekend on the way back from a wedding, and they had some Osage orange dimensional lumber in the store for sale.
You made a shot glass out of it, didn't you?
Oh, that's right, honey. My wife just yelled, "You made a shot glass out of it, remember?" Yes, I have also turned it on the lathe and I made a shot glass for a friend. Or did I sell that one? I can't remember.
You sold it.
I sold it, she says. But yeah, I made a shot glass out of Osage orange. Cola says nothing compares to the feeling of making a DIY and know you made it with your own hands despite any imperfections. That is true. That's why I enjoy doing it. It's really, really fun. Joe says that's pretty cool. I've been wiring buildings for over 22 years. That's a long time. I've only been doing this for about 4 years. Robert says some Indians on the reservations make longbows out of Osage orange. I did not know that. That's really cool. Tammy says, I've made quite a few things from wood. I've made a swing, laundry carts. It holds 3 baskets and I put wheels on it. I love watching your YouTube channel. I love using epoxy. It's fun. Yes. What's really cool is my wife asked me recently what the YouTube channel, what kind of direction would I like to go, and would I like to post more videos on just woodworking or epoxy? And epoxy is so much, I'm really interested in, it's so much fun that I want to go in the way of epoxy and learn as much as I can with that, just because it doesn't even matter if it has a future. A lot of older woodworker guys say it's just a fad, it's gonna pass, and that's okay. I just really, really enjoy working with it, and it's really fun. So I'm gonna keep doing that. Nick says that stuff is awesome, hard as a rock and very colorful. Yes, it's amazing how orange it is. You know, it looks, at first glance, your brain wants to see brown because it's wood, but it's orange. It's really, really cool. Same thing with Purple Heart. If you've ever seen that, it's surprising how purple it is. Aaron says, on my second dresser rehab doing epoxy tops and love it. So, Aaron, you should, if you have either Instagram or Facebook, you should send me a picture. I'd love to see it. Hey, Tammy, I really appreciate it. Appreciate that. Thank you. That's awesome. So guys, before I get off here, I wanted to just remind you guys to be safe in your shop. And real quick, Aaron says, what's your Instagram handle? It is at Goodview Woodworks on Instagram. So Brad's Workbench says, best way to remove bubble from epoxy. Anytime I use heat with a torch or heat gun, I scorch the epoxy. Well, sorry about the sorry about you scorching the epoxy. I have actually never scorched epoxy with a heat gun, so I'm not sure how close you're getting. I mean, I've been right up on it with my heat gun, and I have never scorched the epoxy. With a torch, it's easy, but the best way to remove bubbles is, what I find is, if you're pouring a thick pour, to pour a quarter of an inch at a time, and leave yourself about a 4-inch gap with the heat gun and just go over it. The bubbles will pop, and then pour again, and continue to do that for each quarter inch. If you just did a thin pour over the top, if you stay a little bit above the epoxy with the heat gun and a consistent motion, you should be able to pop the bubbles no problem. William Wagman, what's up? He says, so what's the topic this evening? Well, Will, I cut my hand working in the shop last weekend, and it was more about shop safety. That's what the topic was about. So he said it's all about the motion of the ocean. Oh, crazy. Aaron, yeah, I'm excited to see it. It's going to be really cool. Aaron also asked, what time does Shop Talk Tuesday usually start? So usually it starts at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So sorry about tonight. We were a little bit behind. I'll be working overtime for this rest of this week. Hopefully not next week, because if I can knock this control house out, she'll have a few more days of overtime, and I can get back to making some videos and stuff. William says, "Ha, safety. What is that?" Yeah, exactly. Nicholas says, "Just don't hurt thine self. All will be well." That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Aaron, you from the East Coast? So Will says, any progress on the cheapskate? So I have not started working on my entry for the cheapskate challenge for the end of June. However, I know some people have been asking about it, and the only rules, woodworking or an epoxy project, and it has a $50 cap. So that's the only rule. You can get it from wherever, online, in a store, wherever you want to get the materials from, but it has to have a $50 price cap on it. So that's the rules this month for the cheapskate challenge. And Aaron says, yeah, north of Pittsburgh. Okay. Nice. Not too far from me. I'm in Virginia. Yes, you can use existing materials. Good questions, Will. Appreciate that. All right, guys. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here tonight. I want to thank you for joining me this evening. Sorry I was late. This is one of my favorite times during the week, and I really didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss a Shop Talk Tuesday so close to where I had to miss the one before last. So sorry about that, guys. But guys, thanks again for watching. And remember, I will be posting a video this evening, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. So